G'day viewers, my name is Michael and welcome back to Single Racer. And so my feature video for this week is going to be a two-part, or at least that's how I'm planning it to be. So I wanted to give it a bit more time just to make sure that I can give it the attention that it needs, and that should be out by the end of the week. But also I was inspired by this particular video by one of my favourite channels, Mike Smith over at SimRacing604, which sparked an idea in my head too. So I just thought I'd do that quicker video now. And so this is the video here, which is Mike Smith's latest release video, or at least it was at the time of recording this commentary. And in it he talks about suggestions for better AI racing and his tips to get the most out of that situation. And so for any random people coming across this video to watch, I'll have a link in the description, as I think most of my subscribers are also big fans of SimRacing604. But the reason I want to take it further is in my last video, it was a tutorial about racing against the, not so much the AI, but the ghost car. But I've always had a video in my head planning to talk about both the ghost car, but also another suggestion. So two variations effectively of racing against the ghost car, or versions similar to it. And so I thought it was now the perfect time to cover that off, especially with Mike Smith sparking that idea in my head again. And so one of the ideas that I want to cover more in game to actually give you some visual examples again, but is about racing effectively against the AI, but with a specific idea in mind. So two channels that are excellent if you want to see videos of how that could actually help you. Just to back up what I'm trying to get across now in this new video, is there's two channels that specifically do this type of racing. Now one of them is called, and I hope I get this right, but it's Unknown Cicineg. Now that's how I would say it in my head, but hopefully that's correct, and Unknown could straighten me out if that's incorrect. But now the picture I have here of his channel does feature, just by accident, a lot of racing against AI as a big group, and to me he is one of the best racers on YouTube. You know, I consider him an alien, if you like, if you want to use that term, but he's an excellent racer. But he also does a lot of single one-on-one videos too, where he just races a single car. So if you want to see great examples of that, please check out his channel. And another one of my favorite channels is a channel called Rig Racer, and I found out about Rig Racer's channel through the Extra Miles Sunday Sub Showdowns. He was one of the racers that regularly race in that on that Sunday, and he does some absolutely superb one-on-one duels with two random cars, usually performance cars, as you can see here. So that's another channel that, if you like that dueling with not a group of cars but just one-on-one, he's a great channel to check out. So the track that I want to use for this example, and please don't be put off by the slow car I'm picking, because the reason I'm choosing a slow car is it'll help me with the ghost car specifically and with what I want to show you. It's just better. But also because I've mentioned, if you're a fan of my channel, I've mentioned in the past that I race against my brother and on weekends when we get together once a month. But the most fun we've actually ever had is picking the slowest car in any simcade or sim racing game and racing against each other, because if you've ever mucked up a corner in a performance car, you know that when you get it right, you can be 100 meters or like 10 car lengths ahead on that one corner. But in a very slow car, the joy of trying to race either another car or a ghost car when you've got no power is just great fun. So I kind of want to get that across, but it's more specifically about the lessons that could be learnt in this. And I want to show a mod track called Modena. Now it has two variations of the track, but I'm using the shorter version, and that's because it's very quick and very short, and it'll give me a great chance to show off the track in its fullest, but still be very quick and not drag out too long in this slow car. So let's now go in game and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay viewers, so here I am on the Modena short mod track, and I'll have a link to that in the description. But now I want to show you three variations, or three ways with arguably four variations of how to practice to become a better sim racer. Now admittedly, this video is sort of planned for more raw beginners, that those trying to learn to become a better driver. And that's why I picked this beautiful little car, my favourite 595 R-Bath. Beautiful little car here. But the great thing about this, what I want to show, is how scalable it is, just by using the opponent's strength factor within the game, how you can ramp this up to the point where you can't actually beat the car, but you can still use it as practice, or in effect be level with the car and use it as practice. So the first thing I want to show you is what I talked about in my last video, was the ghost car. So when I say practice, what I mean is the fact that if I'm driving this track, and the reason I picked this slow car is that it helps me with the ghost car be close. But say for instance I came in here too hot and I mucked the corner up like this, that here, let me just get it into reverse now. But if I did that in a GT3 car, when I came around the next time and did that correctly, by that time your car would be up at the end of this straight here, and the ghost car would be well behind you. So in my eyes, that's not the best way to practice, because there's such a gap, because there's such a performance gap between such a high performing car. But one of the things that I talked about is how my brother comes over once a month, and we have usually a sim racing day, and we found that the biggest pleasure we've had in these types of racing days is where we deliberately pick the slowest car. So listen to that. Slowest car, let's build her up, because what it actually teaches you without realizing it, or especially for beginners, is you can't afford in a slow car to lose momentum, because the car doesn't handle as well, or as good as a GT3 car. So now I'm concentrating on what I'm saying here a little bit, not focusing on my driving.
Not going to count. A track cut has been detected.
Thank you, boss. And so you think, oh gee, it's just so boring. But in actual fact, it can be quite entertaining. So let me try and do one. I'll do a slow lap, but one full lap now. Oh, actually, I won't need to, because I crashed before the start-finish line. So hopefully here now. Okay, no, I still have to do one, because I have to do a proper lap where I didn't go off track. But see how a slow car, you lose so much momentum, and once you lose momentum, the idea of a slow car is it's almost impossible to get it back again. So what it teaches the beginner is not only about momentum itself, but once you say do 5 laps and the ghost car is just in front of you, it not only teaches you momentum, but is a great way to learn how to place the car. Do I come out wide and turn in like this, and with the ghost car so slow in front of you, in effect, what it does is lets you test out the different ways to come into a corner and what you might think would be better. And also what I talked about in the last video, which is because the ghost car is there right in front of you on a slow car, it allows you, I'm talking to beginners mainly here, but it allows you to see, trying different gears, what will be faster. Okay, so there's...
Just improved your best lap time, good job.
Oh, thank you. So there's the ghost car and I can see it in front of me. So for instance, if I say, do I come out wide? No, well that didn't work. But I am still actually better than the ghost car because I didn't muck it up as badly. But see, you can, so could I come out wide here? What if I try coming out wide? And this way, see, I get a better run onto the straight. Yes, I'm catching the ghost car. Now that could work. And it allows you, so the first part that I was talking about the ghost car is just for sheer fun. I mean, when you get 10 laps in and you've got a good lap, chasing the ghost car can be a hell of a lot of fun. But it also, the second part of that is also acting as a guide to say, okay, let's try that again. What if I come out wide? See the shape of the corner. So I come out wide, change down, and run in tight. Now, that didn't seem to have that much effect. So maybe that's something you could drop. And you could use the shaping of corners with the ghost car in front of you like this as a great test to see what seems to work and what doesn't. So let's try that again, and I'll try for a much faster lap. Now see, I'm already ahead in the ghost car because I came onto the straight so much more effective. So there's the ghost car there. I'll let it deliberately in front of me because now I want to move on to something else. See, so again, let's try shallow. Let's see if that works. And you can see how, no, I lose too much momentum. So for beginners, because you could arguably split this between beginners and very advanced drivers, where advanced drivers, you could use a GT3 car and use the ghost car to test different ways to enter and exit the corner and see how much momentum I've lost for a beginner. To say, well, clearly, and what you could do is you could do the test 2 or 3 times and say, clearly that's not working for me. So coming in tight like this, or instead do I run out wide like this and then come in narrow? Is that a better way? But what you've got to keep in mind is if you do 10 laps, you'll be right next to the ghost car. So now let me move on to the second part of the tutorial in the sense of what you might not like about it. And this is from reading other comments, you know, because I always like to read other comments, but what they say is, one thing they talk about the ghost car, and let's try and sort of say catch it here. Now, this car was probably a bad example because it's so small in the way the ghost car looks. See, so here I can practice. So let me see if I come out wide again and come onto the track like this beautifully. See, I've got the momentum. Now I'm catching the car. But what some people talk about is that when they're focused on their braking points and the turning points, things like this, they don't like this thing of the ghost car, because the ghost car, when you get right next to it like this, and again, let me try for momentum. So I'll see, brake early. Can I catch the ghost car? See, I know this sounds weird, but to my brother and I, this is so much fun because you've got to drive so exact to catch it. You just got no power to catch the car, so you're trying to be like this, as precise, and it teaches you all about placement and momentum, and it's fantastic. Now, I should catch the car here, so let's talk about this and then I'll end this part of the tutorial. Is that people say that when they're racing against the ghost car, they don't like that here, that it gets in the way. So as they get closer like this, see, it becomes almost a deterrent because it's in the way. So now let me go to a slightly different car and show you the next way of practicing and trying to become a better racer. Okay folks, so now we go to what I consider the next level of practicing. This is especially helpful for beginners, where what you do is you could switch in the menu, just switch the ghost car off, and you change from hot lap to race and set up. Now I've got this as 10 laps. This is the sportier version of the R-Bath, and the reason that I feel that using a slower car is more beneficial, especially for beginners, is because this is so upscalable, meaning that doing this in a slow car will let you focus more on, because what this is about is now suddenly without the ghost car you can't just drive through the ghost car. So it's all well and good to do a hot lap, like say where I was doing it for the tournament, where you work out exactly where your brake marker is, where your turning point is, what gear you need to be in, and what your exit point is. But that's great for hot lapping, but when you get in a race, suddenly you realise that the cars won't let you do that, because suddenly, especially if you're right in the middle of the pack, you have to learn how to avoid cars while trying to do a good lap. So that is what I call racecraft, and this is a great way to help you if you're struggling with that, the next level up. So what I've done is I deliberately set the AI with one car and at its lowest point for beginners. So 80% in the Assetto Corsa and 50% or half aggression. And let's start a race and I'll show you what I mean. So now without the ghost car, you can't just drive straight through it. Now let him go. So what happens now is when I go to do my perfect hot lap time and I go to brake at my same point, suddenly he's in the road and you go, whoa, hang on, I can't just drive through him. So it's got to be more about positioning. And, you know, I find, to be honest, that is a weak point of mine, where I'm great at hot lapping and I can be in the top 5 on most RSR races, but then I struggle a bit with the race car side of things. And so this can be a great way to practice trying. Now I'm more worried about what I'm trying to say rather than what I'm actually doing on the driving. So, but again, you can still use it as a positioning tool to say, okay, now I'm racing against the real AI car, so do I ease off and come in like this? That's it, I've got more momentum again. So you're still learning about momentum, but you're taking it to the next level where suddenly you go, okay, can I dive bomb in? Will that work? No, oh, see, I killed too much speed, plus I hit him. So that didn't work, I was too far back, and it's a great test to say where do I have to position the car to best utilise passing him. And see, the thing in that last corner was I couldn't run out wide, so my exit speed wasn't very good. So suddenly you go, okay, well, if I follow the car and I learn the car's patterns for a little bit, maybe I can figure out where the car's AI is the weakest and try and position myself to maximise a certain advantage. Now, one thing I wanted to try and show you here deliberately.
You just improved your best lap time.
Thank you. In
job.
V8 Supercars, is what's called the undercut, and I'll see if I can do it here. In this, I'll forget about this part and do it in the next straight. Now, ignore my driving because I'm just focused on what I'm trying to get across in the actual for the sake of the video. But what I want to do now is show you, try and set it up. So I'll try and encourage him to pass me on the inside. Will he go for it? Right, no, he won't go for it. But it's what we call the undercut, where I run out wide a little bit like this, and then come in on the inside like this. That's it, and get the run out. And see, now, although that wasn't a very good example of what I was saying, this is probably now the best situation, because what I'm saying is this is great for beginners. I'll just let him go. But this is great for beginners. But now what's happened for me, if I was an intermediate driver, suddenly that car is too slow. I'm not actually technically getting any benefit because I'm just too easily leaving it behind. So that becomes the next level then. What you could do to improve your driving now is, and you know, when you think about it, this is the great thing about not only Assetto Corsa but sim games in general, is you can customize then your preferred way of training. So meaning, I'll go out now, I'll set the AI to 90, and I'll give myself 4 or 5 cars. So it's not overwhelming like some of the races I've been in have 30 cars, where you feel almost overwhelmed and just hope you don't crash anyone out. But you can practice against 4 or 5 cars. So let me just do that quickly, and then I'll wrap this up. Okay, folks. So here we are in what I consider the third part of arguably 4 tiers of how a beginner, or how you can practice being a better driver if you feel you're lacking skill somewhere. So the first stage being the ghost car, where you can practice in a hot lap sense your lines and how to take different lines. So you can practice your gears for corners, or how to come into a corner, where to brake effectively, or the optimal braking position using markers around the track and your line in and out of the corner. But then you can select a single car, so because you can't drive through the car, to then practice one-on-one against a car, but using a slow car and opposition to practice your technique for racing against a real opponent. But now you can use 3 or 4 cars, where now I've got 5 on the track including myself, where it's not overwhelming. So now what we do is we start this and we can race, but I've cranked the AI aggression up to 100% and their speed up to say up to 90%. But it just gives you a small field. Now I'm concentrating on what I need to say rather than the race, but essentially it gives you a small field where it's not overwhelming. But see here, I struggled to pass because they're all in my way. So it's all about now not positioning the car for a hot lap, but how do I learn how to best overtake cars and ways to position yourself where cars won't let you take the optimum line. So here you could, for instance, run shallow and see, could I run inside, right? So I'll try that, and it seems to be effective until I realise that I'm now on the outside for the next corner. So it helps you understand how not only to shape yourself for one corner, but now to come in. So let's try that undercut again, and then we go. Now this opposition is set to 90. Oh, see, and I've got to kill my speed there. But that was an effective pass. So he's coming on the inside now, so I'll lightly move over and try and block him from passing me. Oh, see, he's giving me a little clip from behind. And this is what I mean. The whole thing is scalable. I'll let them go. It's perfectly scalable, because now all of a sudden the aggression is more, their skill level is more because you've raised it up, and suddenly they're real competition for you to practice your abilities, and you can do this over and over again. And slowly, Magic, the channel Magic, actually talked about slowly raising the AI strength. So I think he said he was at 95, and this is a great way where you push it up 94, 95, 96, and as you keep winning races, you just make it stronger and stronger. And now we get to the reason, the final reason, just before I say goodbye, why I showed you the link to Rig Racer's channel, because Rig Racer sets the opposition. Now this is in Project Cars 2, I believe. In Assetto Corsa the maximum is 100, and here come all the cars behind me, but he sets it in Project Cars 2 to 110, but with one car, and he has an absolute all-out race where if he makes one mistake, he's instantly behind, and you couldn't get, even for an alien driver, you could not get a more advanced technique for practicing your race car craft, your hot lapping skills, everything combined within the one race. So I hope this was helpful on some level, and I hope especially beginners got something out of it. But this is Michael signing out for Single Racer. I'll catch you next time. Hopefully in the next video I'll show my prize for coming 5th in the SimRacing604 tournament, and I'll catch you later. See you next time.